Jayden Daniels is out and the Washington Commanders are absolutely cooked. Daniels has a dislocated elbow to his non-throwing arm, but I doubt we will see him the rest of the season. And the Washington Commanders, coming off a 12-5 season that saw them in the NFC Championship game before, going all in this offseason, trading for Deebo Samuel, trading for Laramie Tunsil, now sit at 3-6, third place in the NFC East, and whose playoff hopes are all but dashed. Something that we kind of saw coming to a certain extent preseason. I had them sneaking in as the 7th seed this year, but I figured this team would regress. That regression combined with the age of the team and Daniels' injuries has them absolutely cooked. But Sammy, I'm going back to Jayden Daniels because I am concerned about this man's career going forward. And it was a concern coming out of the draft. His slight frame combined with his style of play, running around, taking those Looney Tune crazy hits in college like he did. So we had durability concerns with Jayden Daniels already. Last year, he didn't miss any games, but he was hurt with that rib injury that he played through. And then this year, 2 games with a knee injury, 1 game with a hamstring, and now the dislocated elbow. And real quick, there's been a lot of Dan Quinn criticism for keeping Jayden Daniels in that game down by 30 with 7 minutes left. Quinn himself took the blame, and he deserves some blame, obviously, especially Jayden Daniels off injury, knowing he's been hurt a couple of times before and how violent the game of football is. Like, you got to get him out of there. However, okay, great quarterbacks want to stay in the game, all right? We've seen all-time great quarterbacks getting smoked badly in football games before, still playing deep into the fourth quarter. This isn't new, okay? I remember Tom Brady's first year with Tampa Bay, okay? They were losing 38-0 to the New Orleans Saints at home, and Brady was still playing, taking shots until like 5 minutes left in the game at 42 years old, okay? Just because he wanted the offense to get some kind of rhythm into next week, okay? And I'm sure that's what Dan Quinn and Jayden Daniels were thinking as well, not thinking Jayden Daniels' arm would completely bend the opposite direction after putting his arm down on what looked like a routine tackle. So if you would have got the same injury in the second quarter, nobody would have said shit because that's just football, okay? That's an injury that you couldn't possibly predict, okay? Unlike the guy who Jayden Daniels has been compared to a lot recently, and I'm going to knock on wood right now for Jayden Daniels because there are a ton of similarities between Jayden Daniels and RG3, Robert Griffin III's story, and Jayden Daniels are starting to look very, very similar. Both number 2 overall picks to the Washington Commanders, having generational quarterback prospects taken in front of them. It was Andrew Luck for RG3, Caleb Williams for Jayden Daniels. So neither one of them were as hyped coming into the NFL, but both looked much better than the players who were taken above them in their rookie seasons, exceeding expectations. Both made a Pro Bowl. Both won Rookie of the Year, and both led Washington to the playoffs. Both same kind of frame as well. Both slider frame, uber talented, rocket arms, 4.4 speed to boot. Okay, both won the Heisman their last year of college, but both had injury concerns. RG3 had them in college as well. He tore his ACL in college. Jayden Daniels didn't have any really serious injuries in college. He had a couple of ankle sprains, but that was about it. And their injuries in the NFL are eerily similar too. Okay, Jayden Daniels was hurt at a home game in DC versus the Seahawks on second down at the 4-yard line, okay? RG3 was hurt in a home game in DC versus the Seahawks on second down at the 4-yard line. Absolutely insane. But this is where the comparison stops. Even though Jayden Daniels' injury was nasty and obviously a very serious injury, it's to his non-throwing elbow, okay? Something that isn't going to hinder him the rest of his career, okay? And it's never been a concern before. When RG3 was hurt, it was his knee again, just like in college, okay? And his knee in that game against Seattle was already hurt, okay? He was wearing a giant knee brace on his knee in that game before he tore his ACL in that game against Seattle. And then the accumulation of those lower body injuries took their toll on RG3, which is not what is happening to Jayden Daniels right now. So Jayden Daniels is not the best RG3 comparison, despite a lot of similarities, because Daniels is better than RG3 straight up. Like Jayden Daniels is a better quarterback than RG3 was, and he doesn't have the serious sustained injuries that RG3 does. However, okay, Jayden Daniels does need to adjust his style of play. He takes way too many unnecessary hits and puts himself in bad situations far too often, and he doesn't need to change those to turn into RG3. But as of now, Jayden Daniels needs to get healthy and make some adjustments, and I expect that he will and get back to being an elite quarterback in 2026. But Sammy, I'm kicking it to you, man. Give me your thoughts on these Washington Commanders, their lost season, and this Jayden Daniels injury.
Yeah, well, regarding Jayden Daniels' injury, I think that there's a lot of overreaction. I think a lot of people are definitely the comparisons to RG3. If I'm being personally honest, I don't see the comparisons at all. I understand you're saying how similar they are, but I think that for one, the way Jayden Daniels got hurt, completely different from how RG3 got hurt. And I think his athleticism, I think it's gonna be sustainable. I think he's learning now, learning from like the past athletic QBs. He's gonna learn from his own personal experience. I think he's gonna be a safer QB from here on out. Another thing I want to mention though, like this is the risk in taking like uber athletic QBs. Josh Allen, I think, is the only QB who's been able to sustain his body for now, at least, knocking on wood, obviously. But I do want to address the Commanders and how, I don't want to say irresponsible, but just straight up like, no, yeah, well, I'll say it, irresponsible. Injuries happen. This is football, ladies and gentlemen. Injuries are going to happen. Travis Hunter literally had a non-contact injury at practice. Okay, this is gonna happen. It's football, right? But
also, real quick, I'm pretty sure Jason Pierre-Paul blew his hand off doing fireworks. So you can get hurt doing whatever. Like you can get hurt doing anything. Yeah, literally,
like, okay, just stay in your room. Okay, to go out there, Adam Peters, the GM, to go out there and assemble the oldest team in the entire league around Jayden Daniels. There was a reason a lot of people speculated and were correct about this team regressing, and that's because you decided to assemble the oldies, one of the oldest teams in the entire NFL, and one of the oldest teams in the last decade, which is crazy, by the way, and assemble him around Jayden Daniels, who he himself has had injury problems. So I don't want to blame them completely for paying Terry McLaurin, because they really did not have a choice. But at the same time, you knew the risk signing a 30-year-old wide receiver to that extension. You knew that risk. You also knew the risk in signing all these players to old players, re-signing all these old players, getting a Bobby Wagner, keeping him, trading for a Laramie Tunsil, who hasn't played a lot of games, by the way. And we've discussed how the Texans lost that trade, trading away Laramie Tunsil. I will say they still lost it because their offensive line sucks, but they didn't lose it too bad because Laramie Tunsil hasn't been healthy. So I didn't want to think that this team would regress, but in the back of my mind, I thought it would as well. Like there was a reason that I thought it was very close between ATL and Washington. Those were the two teams that I thought, well, you never know. And what ultimately separated me from not picking ATL was Jayden Daniels. Well, now Jayden Daniels is gone and he's out for the year. And you're going to have to start thinking about that. But to top this all off, and we talked about it in a previous video, to top this all off, for you to go into the trade deadline, right, knowing your season is over because your QB is gone, knowing you have the oldest team in the league, to just straight up not do anything at all whatsoever is stupid. It's stupid. Let me just say it is dumb, because there is no way after what has happened this year with all the injuries, you're not thinking to yourself, it isn't happening this year. We got to make some moves. We got to salvage the season, get some draft capital, regroup, and go back at it next year. But no, you decide to sit on your hands. It just leads to a lost season, which was not the goal this year, by the way. It wasn't. I know that a lot of the conversation is going to be around like Jayden Daniels, him getting hurt, and Dan Quinn and stuff. To that, injuries happen, okay? And Jayden Daniels, he has to be safe. However, I will say that as for the general managers and how they handled the situation, I thought they handled it poorly. And now we're looking at a lost season for the Commanders, which should not be the case.
This has been Between the Uprights. Football is life. The rest is just details.